From the new recording lair located deep beneath the Wine and Spirit store in Ephrata, Pennsylvania.
You're listening to the Masonic Light Podcast.
Studio 665 presents Masonic Light Podcast. This show is recorded by Masons, for Masons, and is for entertainment purposes only. And please, no wagering.
This podcast is not endorsed by any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous ramblings of the hosts are their own. And now, here's your host.
Yay! Hey, everybody. This is Tim, and you're listening to the Masonic Light Podcast, episode number, wait for it, 178.
Whoa. 178.
178.
That's a lot of episodes.
We're getting close to 200.
Yeah, we're going to have to do something for our 200th.
Yeah. All right.
Stay tuned.
So, in studio tonight, we have Larry back from sabbatical. Welcome back, Larry.
Good to be back.
Who?
Yeah, Larold. Welcome back. Jack is here. Josh is here. I'm here. And our guest host tonight is Jake Young.
Good to be here again, guys.
We promise not to cut you out of this episode.
I'd understood if you did.
And our second guest host tonight is Brother Kevin Freimeyer.
That's great to be here.
Yeah. And so our special guest this evening is Brother Ralph Shelton II. Jack, you want to introduce our guest just briefly before we get into our Around the Horn segment?
Well, I'll let him introduce himself.
All right, do that.
However, we did meet Ralph at the Academy of Masonic Knowledge. So if you're a Pennsylvania Mason and you haven't been to the Academy of Masonic Knowledge, you should come because you meet cool people like Ralph. So, Ralph, tell us a little bit about Ralph.
Oh, man.
Okay, that's enough. That's okay.
Yeah, okay, good.
No, you came to the Academy specifically to talk about your lodge in California, right?
Yeah, they reached out to me about the Invisible Lodge, which is California's first affinity lodge, and we can talk about what that is and whatnot later. And it's a lodge made up of magicians. That was how we piloted that project out here. The short version of my bio is I was a DMLA when I was a young man. Nice. I went on to become a professional magician, paid my way through law school with that. I joined the lodge as the natural path right there when I was old enough, and I've been doing a lot of things since then. So I've been a pretty active Mason for the last 42 years or so.
So it sounds like your law business on the side is doing okay for you then.
My what?
Your law business on the side. You kind of is that the side? Your side? Yeah.
It almost feels that way. Sometimes people joke about me being a professional Mason. I'm a past master. I was a grad chaplain last year. I'm an inspector at large which was it would be like a district deputy grand master, but on a grand scale. And then let's see, I'm the personal rep of the SGIG in my valley here in Orange County, California, at the Scottish Rite. I'm a trustee of the California Masonic Foundation, vice president general counsel of the California Scottish Rite Foundation, member of the DMLA International Supreme Council, and some other stuff. I got a bunch of stuff to hang around my neck that all is on a peg at home, really.
So you're a casual Mason, is what you're saying?
I come and go. I pop in and out.
I get it. All right, so why don't we start out going around the horn?
Well, let's first of all acknowledge our sponsors.
Oh, yeah, those guys.
We have to acknowledge our sponsors.
They're the
Tonight's
best.
episode, as all of our episodes, are brought to you by our sponsors, George J. Grove and Son. He does great work. Hiram Solomon Cigars.
They do great work.
Scott Helm Electric, except I think it's called something else.
It's Helm Construction.
Helm
it's actually
Construction.
his kid, yeah.
There we go. Jack's personal favorite, Intermezzo by Stephanie. Two Pillars Apparel. And our Patreon supporters.
Oh, we love our Patreons.
You too can be a Patreon supporter for as little as $1 a month.
Come on, people.
For a stinking dollar, you can be a member. You can be a supporter. Go to patreon.com/Masonic Light Podcast. You may follow us on X and Threads at Masonic Light, on Facebook and Instagram. And our email address is masoniclightpodcast@gmail.com.
Okay.
All right. Now we're ready to go around the horn.
Okay.
Jack, what have you been up to Masonically?
Well, last Saturday I went out to the Grand Holy Royal Arch chapter of Pennsylvania, quarterly communication in Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
Beautiful place.
And the new line of officers was elected, and they made known my provisional appointment as District Deputy Grand High Priest. So that was kind of cool.
Do we have to genuflex now?
No. Okay. It's an honor to be selected to do that, and I will do my best, I promise. And then at stated meeting Tuesday night, the officers of my lodge did a fantastic job. The work was spot on. It was great. I was very proud of the boys. We gave away $10,000 in scholarships. So it was a very good night for Effort Lodge.
Awesome. Larry, it's been a while since you've been here. What have you been up to Masonically?
Masonically?
Breakfast.
Yeah, Goose and Gridiron, of course, definitely. Attended lodge meeting Tuesday, a week ago, and guess who I ran into?
Me.
You.
Yeah.
And
Josh.
Past Master Josh.
Yeah, don't steal his
Can you
thunder,
believe
though.
that? Sat in back of me.
Yeah, we did.
Come
Yes,
on,
you did.
Larry. That's the only thing I have.
And a little news here. A couple weeks ago, I got a call from illustrious Jeff Moyer, Commander-in-Chief of the Valley of Reading. And he has appointed me as ambassador from the Valley of Reading to Millersville Lodge.
I think that's the
And
Valley of Reading.
what was unique about it was I'm taking over for Pete. So I'm filling in Pete's shoes. So
And let me just say, Larry is doing a fantastic job as ambassador. He stands up at his lodge meeting the other night and announces his appointment as a lodge ambassador for the Valley of Reading, upon which I immediately got a restoration from somebody from the Valley of Harrisburg.
The Maris effect.
The
is
Maris
already
effect.
happening.
The Maris effect. That's right.
It's like quantum entanglement.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
So,
Yeah.
Larry, keep up the good work, buddy.
well, I did find out that Glenn Henry is the ambassador from the Valley of Harrisburg.
Okay.
Because he stood up and talked after I did as
Okay.
well. So
you're doing
yeah.
the job of two people.
Yeah.
then.
So with Harrisburg, is it the Big Valley?
The
is
Big
that right?
Valley. That's right. The Big
And
Valley.
Reading and Berks were called the Happy Valley.
I think you're called the Valley.
Want to have fun?
I'm pretty sure if you go around calling yourselves the Happy Valley, you're going to get a cease and desist from
right.
Penn State.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, Joe Paterno's ghost will come back.
Josh, I know of at least two things you've done recently.
No.
I went to lodge meeting. And what was the other thing I did?
Something before that. Look to your right.
Oh, the dinner.
I went to the dinner, but I talked about the dinner already, didn't I?
No.
Okay.
You talked about you were going to go to the dinner.
All right.
Now you actually went to the dinner.
I went to the past masters dinner
Huzzah.
For District
3.
Yeah.
It was out in Carlisle, and it was a very nice building, very nice dinner. Right Worshipful Grandmaster Larry Durr was there, and he spoke for a little bit, and that was nice. And I had a great time afterwards hanging out outside with the guys.
The
So-
other cigar lodge.
The other cigar lodge, yeah.
There you go.
The appendant body of the Cigar Lodge.
Right.
All
That was
right.
good night.
Brother Jake, how about you?
Since I was here last, I went over to the Cigar Lodge where I ran into you and Jack.
You did.
We had a couple of great ideas for fishing trips and some other things that may come to pass. So it was a great time. I also got out to Ubar Grotto.
Yes.
I was out there. I ran into Brother Maris
Yeah,
there.
if I forgot I was there.
Yeah, it was. And that is
That's a
all I've
joke
really
we're
been
going to
up
let
to.
hang right there. That yeah.
How about you, Kevin? Brother Kevin? Been up to anything Masonically in the last few weeks?
No, not really.
Okay.
I was going to go to the lodge meeting last night, but my grandson had his final baseball game of the season, and I didn't want to miss that.
First things first. Absolutely.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Well, most of the things I've been involved with have already been mentioned, so I'll keep it very brief. Past Master's Dinner,
Jeez.
your Larry's Lodge,
Yes.
interesting, and always enjoy visiting other lodges. Got some great shots, some photos that you can find on our Facebook page.
Yeah, the back of my head.
And then on the first Monday of the month, Eureka West Shore Lodge number 302 held its June meeting where we had lots of strawberries.
And those photos, by the way, were taken after the lodge closed.
Yes.
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 Just so you know.
Okay.
So, Brother Ralph.
Brother Ralph, how about you? What have you been up to Masonically recently?
This one, oh gosh. Well, the last couple of weeks, I'm thinking back. My calendar is color coded, and it looks like a child with finger paints went crazy. Monday was Scottish Rite Valley. We had a great meeting, had a great time there. Our valley has been growing and developing. Well, since I took over as the PR, I've got a different management style than they're used to. I give them vision and direction and freedom to actually go out and lead and do stuff, and they're having a ball with it. So that's great. Let's see. The weekend, I actually had a Masonic weekend off, which happens rarely for me. And I just got married in March. And
congratulations.
My wife, thank you. I've been with Jackie for 16 years. And we finally decided, for insurance purposes, it was just easier.
Been there.
Very, very, very romantic.
Oh, my God.
Plus, it guarantees her admission into the Masonic home, and we've got darn good ones.
First things first.
They don't impress the way the years in Elizabethtown blew my mind. But
it's quite a joint, isn't it?
Oh, wow. Jackie came out with me there, and she was blown away and did not want to leave the wood shop or the farm market. She was very happy. She wanted to just stay there. Anyway, weekend before that, we had a Scottish Rite reunion. My home lodge had a stated meeting. That was actually a pretty darn good meeting. We had a bunch of the way we do things at that lodge is, guys come and tend to hang out for anywhere between 3 and 6 or 8 months, coming to, once a month to dinner and getting to know the lodge, letting the lodge get to know them on the theory that, not everyone, Masonry isn't for everyone and not everybody's right for Freemasonry. And, pick your lodge carefully because you're making a commitment for life. And we're making a commitment for every Mason on the planet. So they've kind of adjusted their attitude, which is a great thing to see. It's a young lodge and a happy lodge. Very vibrant one. I was the grumpy young guy among the grumpy old men when I was younger, and now I am the old guy. I am the that crusty old dude.
Why is everybody looking at me? Everybody in the room is looking at me right now.
Dude, I was staring at you. You got that guy that always says, "Well, that's not entirely accurate." Back in my day, this is what actually happened.
No, that's never said.
And I have become like that guy. I'm the guy with the oral history that they bring in. And they're respectful about it, though. They say, we'd like to invite you to attend this thing because you could probably have some input from a historical perspective, which I finally figured out means you're old, dude. So
absolutely.
We're going to be nice.
Nice.
Last few weeks, just been usual busy stuff, Not as bad as it was several months earlier when I had to go through the York Rite bodies on a bullet train. Because I was becoming the assistant Grand Tyler, and so I took the chapter in February, the council in March, the Templar orders in April, and became assistant Grand Tyler in May.
Awesome. Well,
it's been weird.
Interesting.
Let's take a quick break, and we will come back and talk more with our guest, Brother Ralph Shelton II. Right after
this.
Thank you, guys.
Or II.
Why choose George J. Grove & Sons for your next home improvement project? At George J. Grove & Sons, we've built our reputation on quality and trust for more than 50 years. From planning to materials to installation, George J. Grove promises a home improvement experience second to none. Whether your goal is reducing energy costs, decreasing maintenance, updating curb appeal, or simply increasing the value of your home, the George J. Grove team will recommend and provide solutions that stand the test of time. Call 717-393-0859 for an estimate or visit us at georgejgrove.com.
And we're back. with our guest, Ralph Shelton. Ralph, you impressed us at the Academy of Masonic Knowledge to the point that I think 3 of the next 4 episodes that we recorded, we talked about affinity lodges.
Great.
We haven't made any progress in it in Pennsylvania at all, but we've talked about it, and it's being talked about more and more, and I think eventually we're going to break through. But when you started this, did you know that you were intentionally starting an affinity lodge? And maybe start with what is Cup and Ball, and how did you get started?
Okay. Cup and Ball is a unique lodge. It's our first affinity lodge, and I'll tell you what that is in a minute. In California, it's small, it's tight, it's just a really, really together group of Masons, and it was kind of proof of concept. So the idea of the affinity lodge is a European model, and a lot of people have talked about, we should try the European model, but you gotta try it all or nothing. So European model revolves around a smaller lodge, 30, 40, 50 guys, and they don't typically own a property, they share a property. So for example, in London, you've got dozens of small lodges that meet right in Freemasons Hall. Mm-hmm. And you can share the space really easily. But they meet typically quarterly, and kind of the big one is everybody comes to everything. So
like an expectation of attendance, right?
Yeah,
regrets
really
only kind of thing. Yeah.
I played Masonic Jeopardy recently, and I killed in the lies Masons tell their wives category, just the stupid things we said, it started with what a new Mason tells his wife the time commitment is, and I'm like, bing, what is one night a month? Right? And so that's because we really don't a lot of times have clear expectations for guys up front. So we had tried another lodge, and it was, I think did I just go off?
No, you're
okay. We had another lodge that's called the 33 Lodge in California, which is kind of the first step in that direction. And it was a lodge with elevated expectations, small numbers, kind of a roving lodge. We only would meet in upscale locations. Everything's black tie. So we were leaning in that direction. Once we got to the Cup and Ball Lodge, it was very much purposely designed as an affinity lodge, which is it has all of the European elements, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a tight group, shared space, quarterly meetings, everyone engages in everything, and these guys, as a result, tend to be tighter, closer, with a tremendous engagement. So am I just talking out my ear?
No, you're fine. Was there demand for that, or did you kind of create the demand? Now I'm Jack. Out. I think.
Yeah.
Well, it was talked about.
Okay, I'll keep going.
I wouldn't say that was really.
No, I can't hear Ralph. He's talking.
Not hearing me.
Is Kevin playing footsie with the power cord?
Yeah, right there. That's it.
There it is.
That was it.
And we're back.
All right.
What was your question?
And we're back again.
Sorry, man. There's cables everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin, you have to get as close as you can.
But don't kick
the wires under your chair.
Sorry, Ralph.
So one lodge had been created called the 33 Lodge.
Right.
Art Salazar, our deputy grand master, and I and a couple other guys got together, and we were looking at this elevated experience because you know how it is. Sometimes guys come in and they're thinking about tuxedos and cigars and wood panel rooms, and you get the blockhouse dining hall and the paper plates with the rubber chicken, and it doesn't work for everybody. So we thought we'd give this a shot, and that was kind of a first step. And then we did a purpose-built affinity lodge, and the question I think was there a demand for it? And the answer is no. There wasn't really a demand. There was a lot of conversation. A lot of people that had talked about the European model, and so. One of the guys in our Grand Secretary's office called me up and said, have you ever thought about trying a straight up affinity lodge? And I'm like, no. And he said, well, you've got a Magicians Club, right, of Masons. Want to give it a shot? And I'm like, well, I don't have anything else going on, right? So, sure.
I just heard your resume, so that's not true.
But so we thought we'd give it a try. And I contacted a bunch of my Masonic buddies and who were magicians, and we took the club concept and took it the next step up, and became a full-on, chartered lodge. And so it became a proof of concept. We instituted the lodge, and within a year we had constituted the lodge, which we did on Halloween of 2022.
Nice.
And that was Harry Houdini's anniversary of his death or something. I
right.
Just because it had a creepy factor that we thought was cool. And then and we've been getting together like that ever since. Now, since then, we've had 2 more that have been instituted. And they're on different models. So one is an outdoor enthusiasts club or group, and they're called the Wayfarer Lodge. And they've got it pulled completely together. They're meeting solidly. Everyone's engaged. They've got matching shirts and everything. Then there's another one, which I was involved with that one too, called Royal Street Lodge, and it's for Disney fans. So in New Orleans Square, there's a place called in Disneyland is a New Orleans Square, and in New Orleans Square is a street called Royal Street, and there's Club 33 there. It's 33 Royal Street, and so we didn't want to use 33 because that would just confuse things with the other 33. So we resolved on Royal Street Lodge, and that's currently under dispensation and moving forward towards charter. Now we're getting a lot of grumblings because the word's getting out. We needed it to get a little traction. And now we're starting to see some demand. People are asking questions. When I was in Pennsylvania, I was getting questions from guys walking up and saying, "Oh yeah, what about this concept? Would this be a good, common frame of reference for people?" Because that's kind of the trick of the Affinity Lodge. It's people that share a secondary common interest in addition to Freemasonry. We do the whole "we make good men better" kind of thing, right? But if you're somewhere and you see another guy who's into woodworking like you are, you're going to share some talk and some commonality about woodworking or quilting. I don't know what you guys are into, but whatever it is, podcasters, you're going to run into those guys and you're going to sit down with them. You're going to have conversations. You're going to remember them next time you see each other. Now, if you can imagine that with the Masonic experience as well, that's going to naturally make you a more closely woven group of people. So
does somebody who gets involved in that Affinity Lodge, does it tend to distract them from their home lodge, their mother lodge, or do you find them splitting time evenly, or how does that work? Because I know that's the fear.
The exact opposite. I've seen it actually have the effect of making them engage more in their home lodge. In a typical lodge, we've done the work on this and looked at it, and you're running somewhere around 10% engagement usually. You got 300 guys in a lodge, you're gonna get 30 to show up. You got 100 guys in a lodge, you may get 30 showing up. If you got 30 guys in a lodge, you're gonna get 30 showing up. So that's kind of the one starting point. But you see guys who maybe they go to lodge and they're not part of that tight group of the lodge, and they're kind of on the fringe. So they become part of the 270 guys that aren't there. And when they find that common interest, a lot of times they re-engage with their home lodge because we're a quarterly thing. Affinity is typically a quarterly gathering. You've got interactions in between or communication in between, but it gives the opportunity to inspire someone to enjoy Masonry more. And then now they got a next step. They go, "Really, I kind of like this. I'll go to my home lodge. I'll try that out and go to some of those meetings." Take that active role in that. The guys at Cup and Ball Lodge, for example, all of them are engaged in a home lodge of some kind, a typical craft lodge, more so than they were, most of them, before we got started. Except for past Grandmaster Brill, he's actually taking it a little easier right now than he was last year when he was Grandmasters. But yeah, it tends to make them more active, more interested.
So if you, I'm just curious, you mentioned the expectation of attendance at many of these. Is that an enforcement piece, or is that just you have conversations with folks who kind of fall by the wayside and stop coming, or how do you deal with that?
Well, when you say enforcement, it's there's the way we enforce things Masonically is typically, whisper good counsel.
Yeah.
But the expectation is communicated right up front. We're going to have quarterly meetings. You're going to know when they are years in advance. So there's really no reason not to come. It's, for example, Cup and Ball meets on the first Saturday at 3:00 in the months of February, May, August, November. So you can clock that out for infinity. And we know where we're going to meet. So there's really no reason to not be there. You can't go, oh, well, something came up. Well, if you own a calendar, you already knew. So that's one element. It's clearly communicated up front. And then, if someone misses or they start falling off, it's obvious right away in a small group.
Right.
In a group of 30 or 40 guys, you're going to know right away. And everyone's kind of up at each other's business in a positive way. So you don't see someone there, you're going to kind of go, hey, where's Joe? I haven't seen Brother Joe at this meeting. I wonder what's going on. At our last Cup and Ball meeting, there was someone missing that surprised me. And as soon as the meeting was over, I was calling him up, saying, hey, how you doing? He was like, oh, I'm feeling under the weather. Now, there's another way to go about it, which is some of the European lodges hold all of their meetings under a summons. So the master issues a summons to all the members to come to the meeting, and now they're required to come. So there could be a real hairy enforcement factor on that. Usually, it's more along the lines of, if you weren't there, you probably want to let someone know why you weren't there and explain yourself to an extent. One of the lodges I'm a member of 3 small lodges. I've got way too many lodges right now, but I'm a member of 3 small lodges. I have to be at the DMLA International Spring Council sessions in a couple of weeks. And so I will not be at that lodge's quarterly stated meeting. So I sent a letter to the master and I said, respectfully decline to attend the meeting. Unfortunately, here's the commitment that I have. And then he sent me back, okay, you get a pass on this one. I'll see you at the one after. So it works that way. And it kind of gets us all on more of a Masonic even keel as well. Right. There's less of that, well, that guy never shows up going on. It's like, well, Larry's not here. I'm kind of concerned.
So one of the interesting points you had was about the attendance numbers and the magic 30 that always shows up no matter how many you have. If you have 20, you'll still have 30 showing up. And how for an affinity lodge, how do you know when you've got that critical mass of guys who will come? Like, what do you think the sweet spot number is for getting something like that rolling?
So how do you know is the easiest one to answer with the worst answer. You'll know, right? You'll know. It just will. It's like art. You know when you see art, and you know when you're not seeing art.
I think somebody said that about pornography once too.
But that's all I look at.
I wasn't going to go there right away. I didn't get there eventually.
No, I guess that the question rather, how do you know? Is there a number where it makes sense to start thinking, or will it just happen sort of organically where there's enough of you?
It does happen organically. So human history has taught us that we have, as humans, the ability to have about 30 close relationships. Some of us more, some of us less, but in general, the number's about 30. Any of you guys serve in the military? No? Well, what's a platoon look like? 30 guys.
Right.
Right. Thousands of years of warfare have taught us that. So we know that about 30 people works, and the sociologists have done innumerable studies on it. And so they've helped us understand it better. But around 30, 40 sometimes. I'm sure 50 is a good number for some groups. But once you get past that, sit down and write a list of people that you think about, and it's going to have about 30 people. Look at your Christmas card list and look at the ones you really want to send Christmas cards to. And there's about 30 people there, So that's how we know that 30 is a good guideline. If you're under 20, you're a little bit light as far as, enough people to make it a good, interesting group. If you're over 40, you're probably getting a little bit heavy. The rule of thumb that's used in some of the European models is once we hit 50 guys, it's time to split off another lodge. So, Lodge A gets to 50, 55 guys. They carve off 20 or 25 guys and send them over to another lodge. Those guys form up And now they get another 10 guys in there at 30. A bunch of guys are digging it, and it's time to split off another lodge. And, they can be organized by whatever kind of interest that you have. So a lot of times it's professions. So you've got lawyer lodges, cop lodges. I think Kansas had their first and only is a cop lodge. There's doctor lodges. There's a lot of interest lodges. So you've got boating lodges. You've got, as I mentioned, the wayfarers, camping lodges. I fully expect to see a wine lovers lodge in Northern California. In the near.
Send me a petition.
Yeah.
Right. I'm in.
There you go. There you go.
You can make those quarterly meetings too.
I can. I will make those quarterly meetings.
But
I'll zoom in to the meetings.
One of the things that we have noticed is, and I learned this in the laboratory of Demolay, which is if you give people expectations up front, you know what your expectations are. You communicate the expectations clearly, and you follow up on meeting the expectations. You tend to get people that are going to fulfill those expectations. So Be there every quarter. Be there every quarter. If they're not there, you're following up. You're asking if they're okay. And it's amazing when you ask a guy, "Are you okay? I didn't see you at the meeting." How that tends to impact them. Not everyone, but most guys are like, "Oh, wow, they really do care."
Now, these are all secondary memberships for most of these people, right? So okay.
Yeah. So again, referring to the European model in England, about half the Masons join a craft lodge and then also an affinity lodge.
Okay.
So you're going to your craft lodge, you're participating in degrees and all that sort of stuff. Craft lodge takes on its own personality. We have a district system in California whereby we're broken down a little further than some Grand Lodges are. So we have maybe 4 or 5 lodges will be organized into a district that has one district inspector presiding over it, like a district deputy Grand Master. And then we have those are all coordinated into 9 division because it's a huge state. And, then under one Grand Lodge. And we just created our first separate division devoted to the affinity lodges. So their inspector oversees just these lodges that work a little bit differently than the other ones because it has a different flavor to it. And as we go, we're going to suss out what the different rules are, for the different style of lodge. But that guy's got a great gig. I mean, when you think about it, there's the 33 Lodge, which is upscale black tie events. So he's going to really nice dinner parties. There's Wayfarers, so he's going camping. There's the Cup and Ball Lodge, so he's coming to the Magic Castle, having great steak and hanging out with a bunch of magicians, which is nerdy fun. And then there's Royal Street Lodge, which is the Disney Nuts, and they get together every quarter to have a meeting and go to Disneyland and goof off. So he's just got the best district in California.
That's interesting. I'm thinking if it ever happened in Pennsylvania, they just shush those people into a district, into like all of the districts. So there'd be one affinity lodge in this district and one in that district, and the district deputies wouldn't know what to do with those people. Right?
Yeah.
It would just be completely out in left field and left to themselves to graze and get fat. So.
Yeah. Randy Brill and I were on the Tyler's Place podcast a year or two ago. And when we did that, we inadvertently articulated a policy that kind of has been taken to heart now, which is that the Affinity Lodge differs in its primary purpose from a craft lodge. The primary purpose of a craft lodge is to create Masons. And the secondary purpose is to further their Masonic journey through fraternal interaction. And I guess that's it, fraternal interaction.
However else we do that, yeah.
We're at social and fraternal interaction. And the Affinity Lodge's primary purpose is to further the Masonic journey through social and fraternal interaction, with the secondary purpose being to make Masons. So with a smaller lodge, you're typically going to have to work in conjunction with another lodge in order to do degrees, unless your lodge's purpose is, because they're all about the degree work. And then you're going to have a small group of guys that are putting on killer degrees every quarter.
Ooh, a ritual lodge.
Yeah, they're ritual, nuts, and more power to them.
So wait, I'm confused. It happens a lot with me. a minute ago you said that these affinity lodges, for the most part, were secondary memberships.
Yeah.
But now we're making Masons in those affinity lodges?
Well, a chartered lodge, at least in California, has that authority, right? So I'm not saying they're doing it. I'm just saying it's something that can happen. I was recently talking to a young man who's a magician. He's in his 20s. He's a magician. He came and met the guys, loves the guys in the lodge, and he really wants to be made a Mason in that lodge because that's home as far as he's concerned.
Sure.
And I get that. So we may make that one. It's not like we're, regularly doing it. And most won't.
It's a real interesting concept because I know I'm a little younger than some of the other guys in the room here. And if I go to other guys late 30s and early 40s and say, hey, do you guys want to hang out with a bunch of really old guys and eat some rubber chicken? It's a lot. It's a kind of a hard sell. There's not a lot going on for that middle-aged guy, early, late, whatever. But if we say, I work in technology, so if we have a technology affinity lodge and we're all meeting up and we all do this, and there's a lot more of an attraction there. There's sort of a grab. And I think I could definitely see a future for this in the way Masonry would go, where you're associating with people you have a lot of common ground with, and there's that potential for edification that can serve you in your personal and professional life.
Did this have a precursor in Shrine, where
in a sense, yeah, the Shrine Club, or
yeah,
there are Masonic clubs, there are Shrine clubs and units, and some of those are very, very active in some shrines, but at the same time, a club or a unit is not a full-fledged, independent, chartered shrine organization.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of a temple, right? And there's just a slight nuanced difference in flavor.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be the potentate of your shrine club. You can be a president of your shrine club or the captain of your unit. Whereas you could be the master of an affinity lodge. You can be a deacon, You could be a crusty old past master who sits in the treasurer's chair. That would be me, over there. And by the way, in California, you can be master or warden or secretary of a lodge, but not hold any of those positions in another lodge. I'm junior warden of one of my lodges. I have been for like 4 years. And so when we created Cup and Ball, they said, well, you could be treasurer. I said, okay, I'll do treasurer. Perfect defensive maneuver. I cannot be any of the important offices anywhere else.
Nice. So, well played, young man.
I found the Lost Master's word for that one.
All right, well, let's take a quick break, and we will come back with more with our guest, Ralph Shelton.
Looking for a way to show your Masonic pride and affiliation, but also want to have a relaxed look? Two Pillars Apparel is a Masonic-owned company that incorporates sports apparel with Freemasonry. Check out their current lines from Blue Lodge, as well as the appendant bodies York and Scottish Rite. Two Pillars Apparel is always adding new designs and items. Check in today to get a baseball or hockey jersey, or one of their new Scottish Rite lapel pins or hoodies. Two Pillars Apparel works for lodge social functions or going to the game. Visit them at twopillarsapparel.com. That's TWO, pillarsapparel.com.
Okay, we're back.
As always, the great conversation happens when we are not recording.
Yes.
I know. That was so good, guys.
That was smooth, right? It was very smooth. I know.
Everyone else misses out. So when you break it down and you look at it, we talked about there's like a 30-person kind of core group. So if you look at the lodge it has, I'm just going to use the number 300 because that was like what my home lodge was like. You got 300 members. You have 270 that are therefore not engaged. Because you got 30 guys coming to the meetings. Take those 30 guys that already have something in common. Now let's move them over. Let's bring everyone back in the room and let them form their own clique of 30 guys. Move them over. You got 300 people that you could break down into 10 groups of 30. Instead of one lodge of 300 people with only 30 of them engaged, 10 lodges, each composed of 30, it gives you 300 engaged Masons. So, I mean, the math kind of works itself out really nicely. Now, those numbers, again, they're going to go up and down. They're going to be a little different. But those guys also can come back to home lodge and, and re-engage there. There's also a side benefit that per capita, gets paid twice by somebody who's a member of two lodges. So, I'm making our grand treasurer a very happy camper.
Right.
But really, breaking it down that way can really be an amazing thing. Also, Cup and Ball is a great example. We have guys from a bunch of different lodges, from San Diego all the way up into San Francisco. And if you're doing quarterly, you can go from San Francisco to Southern California to get together with the guys. If you're doing it monthly, it really doesn't work out fiscally for you.
Right.
But, back in the old days when lodges were meeting quarterly and guys had to get on a buckboard and make a day's ride to get there, they would do it. But if it was every month, they were less inclined. So it's another way to capture engagement.
A theme here seems to be less is more. You have a fewer meetings, but they mean more when you go there. You're not gunning for super high numbers of members joining, but you want the members who are joining to be value, and you're sort of going quality over quantity, which is really a seismic shift from where Masonry has gone, at least as long as I've been a member. Yeah.
And another element of it is, the economic side of things. Guys don't want to pay big dues for something they don't attend, right? But if you're on the front end of that, for example, the 33 Lodge, we decided we would try to see what would happen if we had a higher financial commitment. We ran the numbers from the 20s forward, and we figured out that in today's dollars, guys were paying $1,500 to $1,800 to join a lodge and paying $1,500, $1,200 to $1,500 a year in dues. And that would be an astronomical number in most areas today. So we thought we'd give it a shot. And every member of that lodge is a contributor at the Grand Master's Circle level, which means $1,000 a year, and pays $1,200 a year in dues. But we have it broken down into $100 a month increments. We have 100% dues payment before the deadline each year. We have 100% member giving to our charitable programs. And on top of that, people are paying for the dinners. And they're digging it. They kind of like paying a little extra. I don't know if you've ever been to like a charity auction where someone auctions off a $100 bill. But it's something I've done many times where you get up in front of a group of people and say, this is a charity auction. I'm donating this $100. Who's going to give me my first bid? The bid opens at $125. And I've sold them for like $1,200.
That's great.
You are not in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Let me just tell you that.
Okay.
That
several years ago at an UBAR meeting, I bought a box of cigars, and I think I paid $300 for it.
Yeah.
And someone, I won't say who, but he has a well-known bumper. He pulled me aside and said, you could have got that for a lot less. I said, it's for charity, man.
Charity.
It's for charity.
That's the point of it.
So there's that aspect to it, but also, I mean, honestly, people value, and this is another thing we've looked at the sociological studies on, which is the value you place on something because you're paying for it.
Sure.
It's big in the game development community, right? If you're paying a small amount to play that game, that increases the value of that game and it keeps you engaged with that game. Translate that over here to lodge, and if what you're paying to be involved with Masonry equates to pocket change, if it's $10 a month equivalent, then you don't place a lot of value on it because you're already paying $30 a month for the gym you don't go to, right? And then what's $10 for a lodge you don't go to? But if that became $50, maybe people place a higher value on it. So some of the lodges have adopted a higher value model. Cup and Ball Lodge has $144 a year in dues because that's 12 months at $12. And on the other end of the spectrum is the 33 and Royal Street Lodges, which are $1,200 a year or $100 a month. and they all have heavy engagement. So it's whatever works in the culture of that lodge. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing in Lancaster County, you guys could have a coupon lodge. It sounds like to me.
Pot pie and scrapple.
There you go. Pot pie, scrapple, and bargain hunter lodge.
There you go. The reuse it lodge number.
So I'm curious. You mentioned the various dues levels for the affinity lodges. What is what we would call regular lodge?
California Blue
Lodge. Typically, what is that? Right.
I wish I had looked up what the average is, and I can't tell you what the average is, but I can tell you I've seen them anywhere between 95 a year and a couple of $100 plus per capita, which would put it at around 250, 275 in that ballpark.
So comparable on the low end, not so much on the high end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, I'm an advocate of the principle that, do you know people, or have you heard of people that are members of a gym they don't go to?
Yeah.
Because they don't feel the pain, because it's $30, and they're probably not going to show up to lodge either. It needs to have work or monetary value, either effort or money, to make it valuable to them.
Excellent.
I know in my Scottish Rite Valley for some period of time, guys were being told, hey, you're new to the Valley. We need you to be an officer. You don't have to come to anything. You don't have to even show up to meetings, but we need your name in the slot, right? And so what we had was long lists of guys' names that never came to anything. Right. And we got to a point we were getting 10 or 12 guys showing up to a Valley meeting. And we've tripled that in the last year.
And you were training them toward that, right? That was the expectation, was have no expectation.
Yeah, you're setting the expectation of non-involvement.
Right.
And if guys are out there talking about masonry saying, it's really not a big deal, okay? There's a really short, easy proficiency that you can do. You're only coming once a month. That's a lot different than it's expensive and it's totally worth it. And you're going to find yourself needing to be there every week, once a week. You get away with once every couple of weeks. You could even get away with once a month, but you're not going to want to. You should be there more frequently than that. It just has a different flavor to it.
So this actually marks 10 years. I think it's in August? We have been a Mason for 10 years. And that's not that long compared to a lot of these guys in the room, but it is long enough that I've seen some of these organizations and groups that are meeting come up in energy and then drop back down in energy. So with something like an Affinity Lodge, where you're sort of built for non-permanence, is there a sort of a plan?
Is that true? Are you built for non-permanence?
Well, the idea that there's a lifespan on any gathering body of brothers, and you'll spin up as you need, and then kind of be ready to recoalesce if you need to. Is that
which is what happens in England?
Right, that's right. Going through with the European model, that idea that we'll spin up as we need, and then if health starts dropping on these, it's better to kind of keep those active brothers in that magic 30 number.
Yeah, you're way better off keeping them active in the smaller group. You do get a natural excitement when you're starting a new project, right? The new lodge comes together. The guys are like, oh, wow, it's great. I'm going to be hanging out with all my buddies that do this thing. And you really don't want to let that go, because it can go away pretty quickly. And the guys that are forming the lodge, that are giving birth to that little puppy, need to be mindful of the fact that some of that is going to wane. Mm-hmm. There's a natural continuing desire to be active, because it's just like you're getting together with your engineering buddies or your web designer buddies. You get together once every so often. When it's too often, it lacks a certain level of excitement, and so you spread it out. And these guys, like cup and ball, these guys every month, every quarter, are like really looking forward to getting together, and we do. Of course, we have a really cool place to meet, which is the Magic Castle. But the Disney group, they're really looking forward to getting together with the people they can relate to on a level they don't relate to necessarily at their craft lodge.
I'm just thinking out loud, Ralph, and I'm sitting here around the table with a few of my best friends. We're all Masons here. That's what this is, right? It never occurred to me until now, this moment. But I love coming here to do this show. I love coming here to hang out with my friends in Masonry and just do Mason stuff. And that's exactly what this is. And we just don't have a charter.
It's doing Masonry with the Masons you want to do Masonry with, the way you want to do Masonry.
Yeah.
And that's different for every individual. There's big rules that are important, and there's small procedures that aren't always important. When they came to me, I said, I'm going to need a very particular inspector or district deputy grand master to do this Affinity Lodge thing. And they said, why? I said, because we're going to be bending some rules. And we're going to bend some of them so far back, you think they're going to break, but we're not going to quite break them. But when you bend it far enough back, the kinetic energy that soars in that rule bending is fierce. So,
it's a great description.
Just right. Yeah. And the guy we got was great. Russell Hennings, great guy. And I'm an inspector at large, so that helped. But and we have just the most interested guys. And so that's carried through with the other ones. The guys that do the camping thing, the Wayfarer Lodge, the outdoor enthusiasts, they just really look forward. They dig getting together with their buddies in the great outdoors. It's not necessarily my thing. I would visit it, but I think that's why the good Lord created cabins, and hotels for that. I was in Elizabethtown in a hotel with no room service. I considered it camping. I did have a view.
Ooh, that's scary. I'm just trying to think of the motels in Elizabethtown.
Well, it's
Holiday Inn Express.
That's about it. It's upscale.
You want to be in a hotel, not a motel.
The Dewdrop Inn or whatever.
Yeah, we had an awesome dinner at a bowling alley. I can tell you that.
I know right where you were.
Hennigan's.
Yeah, I know exactly.
It was good eats. Jackie really enjoyed it. But no, doing Masonry the way you want to do Masonry with the guys you want to do Masonry with is a very cool thing. And you're right. You're that group. And you probably know other podcasters. You probably, that you'd be happy to share notes with. You probably know other Masonic podcasters.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't take Larry out to play with them though, because
I know that in LA, we've got a vibrant entertainment industry. There's a bunch of guys there's a lodge up there that's guys primarily from the music industry, and they have their ups and downs with the monthly meeting kind of thing. And I've talked to a couple of them, and I'm like, guys, have you thought about going to a quarterly concept, and just relaxing it up a little bit? And you can get together, do a simple business meeting and a jam. Because I tell you, one of the other elements of young guys coming in, as you were mentioning, you come in, you want to learn all about the mysteries of Masonry, right? And so you go to the degree, you do your proficiency, you do another degree, you do another proficiency, do another degree, do another proficiency. Then you come to a stated meeting where we pay our bills.
Right.
It's like, and I've talked to a couple of guys who've fallen out of the fraternity going, that really wasn't what I was getting. They were reading the minutes and paying the bills.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, well, there's more to Masonry than that. And we've had some guys come back as a result of, understanding that from talking to guys that are in affinity lodges. I've been around magicians where I've had a couple of guys go, I used to be a Mason. Well, why aren't you anymore? It was boring as heck. Okay, well, come hang out with us and have dinner. And the next thing you know, they're like, how do I get reinstated? So it's all about engagement, and hanging out with the guys you love hanging out with is different than going to the lodge you need to go to.
So with that being said, what does one of your lodge meetings look like? If you could describe it.
It's a secret.
It's a secret.
I was going to say, I'll tell you, but then I got to kill you.
Yeah.
We just had a changeover of master with Cup and Ball Lodge. Our last master was very lax in his opening and closing and that sort of thing. Our current master is very not relaxed in the opening and closing. And it can vary from lodge to lodge. I've seen it happen in several different ways. One of the small lodges, They get together, and there's going to be a really nice dinner in a really nice restaurant in a private dining space. And there's an adjoining room that the guys go to while the ladies are out there having cocktails. And they get together and put on a stated meeting, which we do the ritual opening. But there's no jewel march because it's usually very impractical. We have a phrase that we love, which is prevailing lodge conditions. If you're in a side room in a restaurant, there's going to be a lot of prevailing conditions. The columns that we have on the warden station, if we forget those, we find something to substitute for them. There's
that
a
water
lot
pitcher will
of
do.
Salt and pepper shakers. Yeah.
So, those little stand-up things that they put a table number on?
Little man,
Yeah, it's a
We
great.
use those
brilliant.
The American flag, we have at all of our meetings, of course, and not every setting's appropriate to be bringing in a big old, 3 by 5 foot flag. And so I've seen them be as smaller ones. On one occasion, everyone forgot to bring it. And so we used a lapel pin that worked. So it is what you make it. So your typical stated meeting, though, it's going to run what it really needs to be, 30 to 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Get the business done. And if there's more masonry to be practiced, if there's going to be a reason to have further tiled meetings, go for it. But really, a lot of it ends up being more festive boardish. With the 33 Lodge, we tried something really unique because we knew that we were going to get guys who were further along in their Masonic journey. And they were going to have significant others who had either, come in the middle of their journey, or they've been there the whole time. But they go and they experience masonry differently than we do. When you take your lady or whatever your significant other is to an event, afterward, probably most of the time they don't say, I was really excited about listening to that speaker tonight, because we perceive Masonic education differently than they do.
What?
So we took a few of the ladies aside and said, what would you like to see in Masonic education? And they said, we'd like to have a really active hand in what that looks like and what the events that we have that are for everyone looks like. So that gave us some guidance. First thing we did was put 2 of those ladies on our executive committee, which is weird. We're the only lodge in the state that has that. They're full-fledged members of our executive committee. They come to every executive committee meeting. It makes my job as junior warden like the best junior warden job ever. Because I just come up with an idea and they go crazy with it. But they put on events that other people want to come to that are not, tied to masonry the way we are. And they had suggestions for, we said, what if we had a speaker at one of these things? And they said, what we'd like to hear? Not about some obscure degree or order or organization or some historical fallacy. We'd like to hear why every member of this lodge became a Mason and how it has impacted their life. And so that was their dictate. And at our stated meetings for the 33, after the stated meeting at dinner, 1 or 2 members gets up and talks about their Masonic journey, what brought them to Masonry, what kept them in Masonry, what got them to the point of doing Masonry the way they're doing Masonry now.
So, So you'd mentioned Masonic education, and I'm guessing that in an affinity lodge, you'd have an easier time tying the lessons and concepts in Masonry that we explore during Masonic education more directly to what you're doing in your professional life. Does that make it easier to make interesting Masonic education as opposed to some of what we get, which is here's the same lecture about this aspect of Masonry or this symbol or
George Washington.
Yeah.
Well, those of you who were in Pennsylvania at the Academy of Knowledge, and I'm speaking apparently to one of you when I say that.
I'm so sorry I didn't go.
There were
so sorry I didn't go.
No, there were 1, 2. Tim, you were there. You were on.
I was remotely.
You were remote. Yeah, there were a couple of
so there's just one odd man out here. Okay, all right. Sorry, but he's a young guy, so it's okay. Congratulations. Congratulations, by the way, on your 10 years of Masonry. The rest of us are saying, isn't he cute?
No one in this room is saying I'm cute. Believe me. To all the people listening on their cars
cute.
and on their
not
phones,
so cute.
I am not cute.
Definitely not.
Now, if you were there, the first part of what I was doing was about a presentation that I give on the Magicians of the Golden Age, and they're tied to Freemasonry. Right. There's if you look at the guys from the late 19th and early 20th century, so many of them were Masons, and it wasn't really likely just because it was a social thing, and a lot of guys were. It wasn't just because they were traveling around all the time, and so you got to meet people in a new town. You just go to the local Masonic Lodge, and a lot of times you're performing at the local Masonic Lodge, right? Or you know that Masons are trying to be better every day. Magicians are trying to be better every day. We're not in competition as Masons with other Masons. There's plenty of Masonry to go around. There's plenty of magic to go around. Those guys weren't that heavily competitive with one another. They were competitive with themselves, trying to be better and trying to bring a little happiness to the world and make a living doing it. And as Masons, we try to bring a little happiness. So there's a lot of parallels there. Also, Masons look at things a little differently than other people too. We think critically. We tend to be less swayed by inference or by innuendo, and look more at actual facts and logic. That's part of the teachings of Masonry. Sure. All that applies equally to magicians. So it's a presentation that I have a 14-minute version of it. I have a 30-minute version of it. And I presented that as the first part. That's been a Masonic education piece for Cup and Ball, and for every other one of the small lodges. I've done that for them as well. 3 of the 4 small lodges, and then also for lodges up in Northern California that are looking for a different kind of Masonic education. Yeah, it definitely lends itself to that, because you already have this common bond that brings you together. Masonic education there could be talking about, not work. Honestly, just talking about work.
So you were saying that the common ground together. One of the things that I was talking to Jack about was starting an enmity lodge for Masons who just cannot stand each other, and just get 30 of them together in a room. And,
right? That's a great idea.
No mineral or metallic substances are permitted in that room.
That's a genius idea.
Wow. There's a little bit of practice. All right.
Right.
Well, let's take one more break, and we will come back with Walter and any final comments that we might have.
Awesome.
And we'll wrap up tonight's show. We'll be right back. As far back as the mid-1800s, records exist describing the pre-meeting tradition of brethren smoking cigars during and after gatherings. To this day, the practice of smoking cigars remains very much alive in many lodges. This custom is considered a time for brethren to relax, exchange ideas, and enjoy the simplicity and fellowship that is the very essence of our brotherhood. This is what Hiram Solomon Cigars is all about. Our starting principles are to bring Masonic brethren together in the harmony of a good cigar. Pull up a chair, sit back, light up any of our premium cigars, and enjoy the history. Hiram Solomon Cigars can be found at fine cigar retailers. For a complete list, visit HiramSolomonCigars.com or check them out on social media to find out when they'll be at a live event near you. Hiram Solomon Cigars is pleased to be the official cigar of the Masonic Light Podcast.
Hello, brethren. Dutchy Doug is here again to give an update from my lodge, the Broken Plough number 377. As Masons, we often talk about the mysteries of Freemasonry. Many of us have no idea what that means, but the members of the Broken Plough experienced firsthand some mysteries themselves this month. Every summer, our lodge gets together in June for our annual picnic. It is always a nice opportunity for us to sit down with our families, enjoy a great meal, and fellowship. Some years we do a pig roast with a pig donated by one of the brothers. Other years it's a traditional Pennsylvania Dutch-style clam bake. Brother Jeremiah Wasserman has a cousin who lives down at the shore and has an inn on fresh clams. On the day of the picnic this year, we all gathered in the grove out behind the temple. Brother Wasserman showed up with 5,000 fresh little neck clams. Brother Charlie Welshcon brought 25 dozen fresh sweet corn from his garden, and all of the brothers and their families brought a multitude of side dishes. The lodge furnished 2 kegs of ice-cold Pennsylvania Dutch-style birch beer. You know, the real deal, red birch beer. The weather was beautiful and everyone was excited to enjoy the day. The clams were steaming in the iron kettles, the corn was cooking away, and butter was being melted. What more could one want? The time had finally come and the food was brought to the tables. Everything smelled wonderfully good. After an appropriate blessing from our chaplain and a toast from the worshipful master, we all dug in. Things seemed to be going well at first until a large commotion broke out at the Schlucker family table. Unbeknownst to Brother Harry Schlucker, he had recently developed a shellfish allergy and he started blowing up like a groundhog that had been hit on the road and left there on a hot summer day. Since he didn't know about the allergy, he didn't have an EpiPen on him, and sadly neither did anyone else. Now earlier I had mentioned mysteries. Well, it is a well-known fact that we Pennsylvania Dutch have a mystical side to our culture too. Powwowing. Powwowing is a traditional form of healing. Some call it witchcraft, others believe it is nothing more than hooey, and others truly believe in its knowledge and abilities. As Brother Schlucker kept gasping for air, Brother Patrick Braucher ran to the table. Many of the brethren weren't aware that Brother Patrick was a 6th-generation powwower, having learned the trade from his mother and his grandfather. Brother Patrick quickly jumped up to work. He grabbed a ribbon from Brother Schlucker's daughter's hair, got behind Brother Schlucker, dragged the ribbon across his throat 3 times while mumbling something in Pennsylvania Dutch that none of us could really make out. He then ran over to the fire that was cooking the clams, threw the ribbon into the flames and shouted, "Naki fat!" As soon as he had done this, miraculously, Brother Schlucker's throat seemed to open up and he could breathe again, as if nothing had ever happened. We all rejoiced and gave Brother Patrick a standing ovation. We all finished our meals and enjoyed an afternoon of quates, cheap cigars, and more cold birch beer. Now, some of you might think that this is a crazy story, and it can't be true. Rubbing a ribbon over someone's throat, mumbling Pennsylvania Dutch, and throwing it into a fire? Come on, Dutchy Doug, that's just nonsense. Well, I can't explain it either. It's a mystery. All I know is that I saw it with my own eyes. Sometimes in life, the things that we don't or can't understand can have the most meaning. I will let Brother Patrick continue his healing work without complaining or any criticizing from me. Till next time, work hard, stay plumb, and out in the lights when you leave the room. To learn more about the Pennsylvania Dutch language, culture, and history, please visit my website, padutch101.com, or my YouTube channel. Just search Doug Maidenford. To learn more about the traditional healing practices of powwowing among the Pennsylvania Dutch, look for the book Powwowing in Pennsylvania by Patrick Dunmoyer, available at Masthof Press. Visit them at masthof.com, masthof.com.
In Masonic news today, at a recent quarterly communication of the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, it was announced that there exist 2 Grand Lodges of Far South California, both called the Grand Lodge of Far South California. An effort to merge the 2 Grand Lodges has been unsuccessful for decades because what could possibly go wrong? The Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania recently recognized the Grand Lodge of Far South California, which had a Grand Master named, we'll say, Don Julio. It was determined that the Grand Lodge of elsewhere had recognized the other Grand Lodge of Far South California, whose Grand Master was Jose Cuervo. Later, Grand Master Don Julio expelled Grand Master Jose Cuervo from the recognition, and in 2003, the Supreme Grand Recognizers of the world removed recognition from all of those Grand Lodges. The Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, recognizing that it had stepped on the proverbial landmine, voted to rescind recognition from whichever Grand Lodge it had given recognition to. And furthermore, it was determined that neither would be granted recognition until both groups had sobered up. That's the Masonic news. So mote it was. Jesus.
Good. God.
That's too many words.
That's good.
That's too many
good,
words.
though.
Mimi Mama Moo.
So, based on a true story, I guess, but the names were changed to protect the innocent. So.
Yeah. Somewhat.
Anyway.
A little bit.
All right. So I think it's time for our game show, Jack.
Is it time to play?
I think it is.
It's time to play. Ralph, it's time for us to play Copious Dues. This is the game where we ask our guest how much he pays every year in dues. So, Ralph, we're going to go around the table and we're going to take a guess based on what you've told us about what bodies you're in and estimate in our minds what a ridiculous amount you pay every year in copious dues. So, let's start with Larry.
$858.
$858.
He told you one of his lodges is $1,200.
That's okay. I still might win.
Welcome, Larry. Yeah.
He just woke up. It's a thing. Josh, how much do you think Ralph pays in copious dues?
$2,849.31.
Ooh, $2,831 in Sonic River. It says right.
I got it.
All right, Kevin. Kevin is scratching his chin, trying to do mental math. Kevin, what do you think?
3,150
Dollars. Pesos.
dollars.
All right, Jacob, what do you think?
$4,128.68.
Wow. Tim, we are all over the place.
Yes, we
Tell
are.
us how much you think
Ralph pays in Copious Dues.
I'm going
So
to.
it's-
Hang on. Go ahead. Guess.
So I'm going to say $1,974.
And I, your host, will guess $2,306.
Okay.
All right, so we've got the spread. Ralph, tell us in your own words how much you pay in Copious Dues.
I do not have an exact number. I have a really close approximation.
That's what we'll go.
That will do.
All right, that makes Kevin the winner with his $31.50.
Thank you.
I pay about $33.50 a year. in dues.
33.
Wow, very close. Well done, Kevin.
And I think he goes on our leaderboard.
First time guesser.
Excellent.
First time winner.
Excellent. He goes on our leaderboard, too, for the most in Copious Dues.
Well done. Well,
He
yeah.
overtakes Jason Craig.
I actually cheated. I used mentalism to read his mind. Sorry. I am so sorry, guys. I cheated.
Oh, it was an inside job.
Oh,
You are or have been a professional magician. That is true. All right, no fair telepathy going on here. Well, anyway, Ralph, we just want to thank you. We're going to go around the horn before we leave.
Yeah.
But I'm going to thank you for coming to be with us. What do you have coming up in the next couple of weeks for your Masonic Jazz Moraz?
I actually have to look at my calendar before I even have the first clue. Let's see. I've got nothing this week. It's kind of crazy. It's because it's Father's Day. I have a lodge picnic on Saturday. I have Father's Day the day after that, where I'm taking my almost 90-year-old dad out.
Awesome.
Then let's see, what else do I have? I have meeting for that committee, and then on Thursday the 20th, I travel to Phoenix for the DMLA International Supreme Council sessions.
Outstanding.
As a senior DMLA, I'm really looking forward to that. I get to see a bunch of guys I haven't seen in a while. And then the week after that is the Shrine Imperial sessions up in Reno.
Very good. A busy schedule. To be sure.
Yeah. And in between, I'm going to try and practice some law.
There you go. Jake.
I have the Ubar picnic coming up at the end of this month.
At the Steffi Land Ranch.
Yes, and then there's not a lot going on masonry-wise in July and August.
Nope.
So I'm going to hang out with the family and wait till they're sick of me so I can go to stuff in September.
Ralph, do your lodges call off over the summer?
Mine usually don't because we have air conditioning. So,
well, we do too.
Such a concept. Oh, my God.
Yeah, look, I don't know what the kind of dues you're paying. I want to make sure you can keep it on. No, some do, some don't, just because of lack of activity, vacation time.
Right.
I think that Orange Grove Lodge is probably going to take mostly be dark in August. But the Affinity Lodges really don't worry about that because they're meeting once a quarter.
Right.
There's always a chunk of time that they're free. So.
All right, Joshua, what do you have coming up?
Just the episode. I think everything with Lodge is kind of winding down until
Peace out till September. Yep. All right. What's your name? Tim. What do you got going on?
Okay, just a couple of things I want to mention. On the 29th of this month, I actually have 3 events scheduled for the same day.
Nice.
Goodness gracious. Jack and I will be in attendance at the operatives meeting, followed by the Allentown Cigar and Steak event, and obviously Allentown, and then the aforementioned Steffiland Ranch free-for-all. All on the same day. So I'll make at least 2 of those events, and that's pretty much it in terms of personal stuff. But I do want to mention some things that we've been made aware of, and we will all appear at. I'll let what's his name over here talk about where he's going to be.
Oh,
Larry. Yeah.
Where am I going to be? Thursday, Goose and Gridiron.
Well,
do you know where you are right now, Larry?
Wait.
Let me finish, and then you. I'll go to you.
I thought you passed it to me.
No, I said I'm going to save one of the things. So
this is great content.
Isn't it great?
Go ahead.
So, over the summer, there are a number of events going on. In July, on the I hate it when I do this.
12th,
21st. No, 15th. I'll be at the Council of Deliberation for Pennsylvania on the 12th and 13th. In August, we, Masonic Light Podcast, will be at the Keyman Conference in E-Town, where we will be recording an episode in front of a live studio audience. That's always a great deal of fun.
Yes, that's fun.
So we look forward to that.
Live from Patton Campus.
Yeah. There's an AMD gathering on the 17th of August. I forgot to mention the Valley of Harrisburg Golf Tournament, which there will be a sponsored team from Masonic Light Podcast. If you're interested, reach out to us at masoniclightpodcast@gmail.com. And finally, August 24th, the Big Valley of Harrisburg has a chicken barbecue. So make note of all of those dates. Folks from here at the podcast will be at all of those, in addition to the one Larry's about to mention. So, Larry.
Yeah. Again, Goose and Gridiron on Thursday, but on Saturday, I will be representing Masonic Light Podcast at the Valley of Reading Cigar and Steak Saturday, which will be held at the Raja Temple grounds out in Leesport, Pennsylvania, which is always a beautiful place to go to. So I'm looking forward to that.
Great.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Jack.
I have Lodge of Research on Saturday the 15th. I have a membership committee presentation coming up the following Saturday. I have we're having a table chapter, which is like a table lodge except for chapter. That's coming up on the 20th, and then blah, 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 operatives, UBAR, all that stuff you guys talked about. That's pretty much it. I want to check with you on that AMD thing. That's the 10th or the 17th?
I think it's the 17th.
You're talking about the in-gathering?
Yeah.
I think that's the 10th.
Okay.
But anyway.
You're correct.
Yeah. So that's my schedule. Not a ton, but I'm going to start visiting the chapters that I'll be responsible for coming up next year. And that'll be an interesting period of change.
All right.
So,
well, again, thanks to our guest tonight, Brother Ralph Shelton. Thanks for joining us tonight. To our studio special guests, guest hosts, Jake Young and Kevin Freimeyer. Come back and see us again.
I've had a fantastic time. This wasn't it.
It was wonderful, and I'm glad I won.
All right, Josh, it's time to cut those chickens loose. And Larry, take us home.
I haven't done this for a long time. You know that?
It sounds
so I
the
need to
same.
get my squeaky voice back, which you guys do a terrible job in imitating, by the way. Special thanks to Everett Lodge 665 for providing us with this beautiful, beautiful studio in the basement of the liquor store. To Josh Lamberton, our producer and director, and man, he was directing tonight, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. Jack Harley, our news director, great job. Yeah. Tim Dedman, our marketing director. To Michelle Snyder, Doug Maidenford, and Austin Schifrin, our Masonic Light contributors. You did that when I was in Florida, you know? And Carol heard that. Needless to say.
She was used to it, right?
She liked it. Yeah. Anyway, but this is Larry Maris, so thank you for listening. And again, have fun and do good.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.